Hey guys, good morning. Previously we have discussed about the planned city of Mohenjo-daro, right? Yes. In this, what are the two planned cities? First one is Lower Town. Next one is Citadel. In this Lower Town, we have discussed about drainage system and the domestic architectures, etc. Then in the Citadel, the fortified cities, the public places, we found that warehouses, college, great bath, and the public courtyards. And about the great bath we have discussed. In this session we are going to discuss about the tracking social differences. So tracking social differences is nothing but there differences among the people, okay, differences among the people. However, it is the historians, archaeologists found many things about the Indus civilization, but in this, however, it is they want to find that whether the people have differences between one to another or etc. So initially, as I told you that there were no caste system followed in the ancient days, but the classes were being followed. Okay, so what are the three types of classes we discussed in the previous session? First one is upper class, next one is middle class, and the third one is lower class. So three types of classes were followed in the ancient days, and these classes were divided according to their profession. Okay, these classes were divided according to their professions. Okay, yes. So for studying about these social differences, not only about the differentiate peoples, but also the differentiation, but also the difference in their cultures, including the burials. Okay, you see, archaeologists generally use certain strategies to find out whether there were social or economic differences amongst people living within a particular culture. So as we according to the evidences, we strongly came to know that the people are equal in the Indus Valley civilization. Why you are telling that people are equal, sir? Which means these people are worshipped same god, right? Like all the people in the Indus peoples worshipped only one god, that is a Shiva, and the goddess, mother goddess. So which means they are telling, archaeologists are telling that the people followed only the culture of Hinduism. So which means there is no different cultures in the ancient days. So we can strongly assume that people are equal in the Indus civilization, and these include studying burials. And you are probably familiar with the massive pyramids of Egypt, some of which were contemporaneous with the Harappan civilization. Many of these pyramids were royal burials with enormous quantities of wealth was buried. So as you know that the great pyramids in Egypt. So what do you think about the pyramids? Actually, we people are telling that these are one of the 7 wonders in the world, but the pyramids are actually the burials. Okay, pyramids are burials, which means grave. Okay, which means grave. It's like Taj Mahal. Even Taj Mahal also considered as one of the 7 wonders, but the two is known as grave only, no? So the same thing, the pyramids in Egypt are also considered as a grave. Okay, so the same thing, whether they followed the grave system or whether they followed a pit, such things we are going to discuss in this section. You see, initially there are 3 types of burials have been followed in the Indus civilization. First thing is complete burial. Okay, note on. First thing is complete burial, and the next thing is fractional burial. Next thing is fractional burial. Third one is post cremation burial. Okay, next thing is post cremation burial. So there are three burials were followed during the Indus civilization. First one is complete burial, fractional burial, and post cremation burial. Now see, complete burial. So what is complete burial is nothing but burial of whole body. Okay, burial of whole body is known as complete burial. And the next one is fractional burial. In this fractional burial, it's nothing but the burial of collected bones after exposure of body to the wild beast. Okay, so once the wild beast have exposed everything, the people used to collect the bones of the human and they used to bury it. Okay, then third one is post cremation burial. In this post cremation burial, burial of bones in a pot. Okay, burial of bones in a pot and usually these post cremation burials is followed only for the pet animals, okay, only followed for the pet animals. So as per the evidence, there are 3 burials were followed during the ancient days. Very clear? Yes. At burials in Harappan sites, the dead were generally laid in pits. Sometimes there were differences in the way the burial pit was made. In some instances, the hollowed out spaces were lined with bricks. Could this variation be an indication of social differences? We are not sure. Yes. So the burial of Harappan sites, the dead were generally laid in a pit. So initially in ancient days in Egypt, how the people of Egypt, they buried their bodies like grave, I mean like pyramids, okay. But this Indus Valley civilization is totally different, that the people of Indus, they used pits for burying the bodies, and in this some differences are there. Some people used to dig the land, dig the earth, and they put the bodies and they will bury it. And in some cases the people used brick for laying out the shape of human, okay, laying out the shape of human, and then they bury it. But through that we cannot assume that this will give you differences, but especially it's not sure, okay, it's not sure. So by giving by laying out the bricks, the people cannot, we cannot assume that the people have differences of cultures and etc. Okay. See, some graves contains pottery and ornaments, perhaps indicating a belief that these could be used in a afterlife. Yes. So according to the archaeologists, what they have found in the graveries is nothing but pottery, ornaments and other things, okay, pottery and ornaments and other things along with the dead bodies, Why the people of Indus buried the dead bodies along with the pottery and the ornaments is nothing but these pottery and the ornaments will used by the dead bodies after life, okay, after life, which means they have a belief that they have one more life, okay, they have one more life. So that's why they buried these pottery and ornaments with them. The next thing is jewelry has been found in burials of both men and women. So not only the pottery and the ornaments, but also the jewelry is also they found of both men and women. In fact, in the excavations at the cemetery in Harappa in mid 1980s, an ornament consisting of the 3 shell rings, jasper. What is a jasper? Is nothing but a kind of a precious stone. A bed and hundreds of micro beds was found near the skull of male. So initially these rings, beds rings and the shell rings was used only by a male, okay, only by a male. In this next class I will tell you that what are the things used to, what are the ornaments used to by male and what are the ornaments used to by females, that I will tell you in the next video. So in this some of the places the people found jewelries of both male and female. Along with the jewelries there were rings of shells of rings, okay, shells of rings that also found with the skull of male. In some instances the dead were buried with copper mirrors. Initially this copper mirror used to bury with female dead bodies, okay, female dead bodies. Why not? The same thing, afterlife people will use. Initially we could see that these copper mirror buried with the female dead bodies, but the whole, it appears that the Harappan did not believe the burying of precious things with the dead. But it's not compulsory. All the people want to bury the dead bodies with the precious stones, but however whoever is in the upper case, they people will used to bury because they have wealth and everything, no, so they people used to bury. But what about the middle class and the lower class? They people won't bury such a precious things, but they people will bury the dead bodies with the pottery and the other ornaments like shell and the clays, etc. Okay. The next one is looking for luxurious. Looking for luxurious is nothing but rich and poor, okay, rich and poor. Another strategy is to identify the social differences is to study artifact. Artifact is nothing but the man-made things. So another strategy to identify the social differences is to study artifact. So in this we can differentiate the people by using their artifacts. In this some of the people may use as usual, normal things like like earthen pots and etc. But some of the people used what gold, silver, copper, etc. So these are the precious one in the ancient days. So this we can divide the people by using such artifacts, which archaeologists broadly classify the utilitarian and the luxurious. The first category includes objects of daily use made fairly easily out of ordinary materials such as the stone or clay. So in this, in which basis we could divide the people by their luxurious in their everyday uses, okay, in their everyday uses, and most probably these ordinary materials of this civilization was stone and clay, which means this stone and clay was used by all the people, and these includes quants, pottery, needles, flesh rubbers. Flesh rubbers is nothing but body scrubbers, etc., and are usually found distributed throughout the settlement. So the common things, I mean, which was used around the Indus valleys are what pottery, quants, and the clay stones and the flesh robbers, etc. These are the people are distributed throughout the settlements, and archaeologists assume objects were luxurious if they are rare or made from the costly non-local materials or with complicated technologies. So the things which has no complicated technologies, it's all considered as a common thing, and the things which has a more complicated technology are considered as luxurious one. So these stone, clay, and the pottery, needles, there is no complicated technologies in the things, so we can say that these are the common things. But what are the complicated technologies and what are the precious metals? See, thus the little pots of faience, a material made of ground sand and the silica mixed with the color and the gum and then fired. Then first one is faience. Okay, first one is faience. In this faience, what is the faience? Why the faience is telling that it's a precious one? The manufacturing the faience is taking much technological works. You see, the material made of ground sand, actually the material is a ground sand or a silica mixed with the color and the gum, then fire it. First the material, raw material, then they want to gum it and they want to fire it for the shining. Okay, so which means it takes much work for completing the manufacturing. So it may be considered as a precious one, were probably considered the precious because they were difficult to make. Okay, so as I told you that the things whichever doesn't have technological work, much technological work are considered as a common thing, and the thing which has technological work are considered as precious one. Then the next one is the situation becomes more complicated, and when we find the seems the articles of daily use, such as the spindle wheels, are made a rare material such as the fines, to be classified these utilitarian or luxurious. Yes. So in some of the things also we have found in the everyday life that spindle wheel, which refers to measure the weights. Okay, which refers to measure the weights. Okay, and some these you see hoards are the objects kept carefully by people, often inside containers such as pots. Such hoards can be jewelry or metal objects saved for the reuse by metal workers. If for some reason the original owners do not retrieve them, they remain where they are left till some archaeologists find them. Yes. So here people in this they used to hoards. Okay, used to hoard the costly items like jewelries in the pots. Okay, in the granary pots. Okay. So that's why the people, if any thief, okay, to save from the thief, the people used to save the people used to hoard the jewelry in the granary parts. The next thing is, if we study the distribution of such artifacts, we find that the rare objects made of valuable materials are generally concentrated in the large settlements like Mohenjo-daro, Harappa, and are rarely found in the smaller settlements. These large settlements, these valuable materials are found in the big cities like Harappa and Mohenjo-daro, but it's very rare to find in the city of smaller one. Okay, city of smaller one. For example, miniature pots of fans perhaps used as a perfume bottle. So the people, the historians are telling that the miniature pots of fans may be used used it as a perfume bottles, and are found mostly in Mohenjo-daro and Harappa, and there are none of the small settlements like Kalibangan. So as I told you that these costly materials they found only in the big cities like Harappa and Mohenjo-daro, but the cities like Kalibangan, it's very rare to find in the small cities. Then gold too was rare, and at the present probably precious all the gold jewelries found at Harappan sites was recovered from hoards. Hoards, what is hoards? Hoards is nothing but hiding. Okay, hoards is hiding and hiding. Okay, so as I told you that some people used to hide the jewelries in the pots. No, so the same thing the people used to hoards the jewelries. So after the excavation started, historians have found many jewelries in the sites of Harappan, which was recovered from hoards. Okay. Yes, the next thing is finding about craft production. So in this finding about craft production is nothing but previously we discussed about the craft materials was used to both men and women in the Indus Valley, and in this in what are the places they manufactured such a craft items that we are going to discuss in this topic. First one is you just see locate Chankhudaro on map 1. So you see we can discuss in the class. Okay, now we cannot discuss now. So map we can discuss in the class. See first one is locate Chankhudaro. You can note it down. Chankhudaro is a place of manufacturing the art items. Note down. Chankhudaro is the place of manufacturing art item, since it is very smaller when comparatively Mohenjo-daro, which means Chankhudaro is a tiny city which has less than 7 hectares, but Mohenjo-daro is the biggest one which has 125 hectares. Okay, so almost exclusively devoted to craft production, including bed making, shell cutting, metal working, seal making, and weight making. Yes, so the profession of the city Chankhudaro was the manufacturing, craft production like bed making, shell cutting, metal working, seal making, and weight making. So the Chankhudaro is the city of manufacturing craft items. Okay, the next thing is the variety of materials used to make a bed is remarkable. Then yes, in this the people used different types of stones and the different types of metals and the different types of shapes for manufacturing the craft items. So you see what are the stones they used is nothing but they used the stones like carnelian. Carnelian is nothing but a beautiful red color. A beautiful red color, the stone of a carnelian, and the jasper, crystal, quartz, and stearite. So these are the stones used by the people of Chankhudaro for manufacturing the art items. The next thing is metals like copper, bronze, and gold, and shell, faience, and terracotta and bone clay. Okay, the first thing is the people used stones like carnelian, jasper, crystal, quartz, and stearite. Then they used metals like copper, bronze, gold, shell, and faience, terracotta, and burn clay. These are the things they used for manufacturing the things. And some beds were made of 2 or more stones and cemented together. So this is nothing but some beds were made of 2, which means some of the things had more than 2 beds which are connected each other, and with this the people used to now we have wearing chains, no, neck chains and the hand chains, etc. So these chains is like connected each other. So the same thing was followed in the ancient days. And the next thing, some beds were made of 2 or stones and cemented together. Some of the stones with the gold gas. The shapes were numerous. Yes. So the people used different shapes, like what are the shapes is nothing but the disc shaped and the cylindrical, spherical, barrel shaped, and segmented, and some were decorated by incising or painting, and some had designs etched onto them. Yes, the people used different shapes of cylindrical shape, spherical, barrel, and dish shaped, etc. In this craft items, the people used to paint in a different designs. They used to paint different designs. Not only the painting, but also the people used incising. Okay, incising is nothing but hand curving style, hand designs. Okay, hand designs. Yes. The next thing is the technologies used for manufacturing the craft items. So in this, what are the techniques? See, techniques for making beds different. differed according to the material. You see, the people used different types of techniques. It depends on the material. You see, the first, for example, steadite. Steadite is a very soft stone, was easily worked. Initially, the people used to manufacture many craft items only with the steadite. Why is only with the steadite now? Actually, steadite is a very soft stone, so it's easy to make a craft production items. Okay, so some beds were molded out the paste made with the steadite powder. So once the steadite good was over now, the people used to polish it with the steadite powder. Then this permitted making a variety of shapes. Unlike a geometrical forms made out of the harder stones, how the studied microbeds was made remains a puzzle for archaeologists studying ancient technologies. Yes, since that most probably 90% out of 100, 90% of the materials was made up of steadite. Remaining 10% was made up of other materials. But it's very easy to manufacture the things with the steadite stone. So that's what people used to steadite. But still, archaeologists had confusion, as well as they are wondering that how people used such technologies in the ancient days. Then next thing is, archaeologists experiments have revealed that the red color of carnelian was obtained by firing the yellowish raw material and beds at various stages of production. So previously we discussed that the people of Indus used carnelian stone for manufacturing the goods, craft goods. So in this, how the people get the red color? Actually, the raw material of the carnelian was yellowish. Okay, raw material of the carnelian was yellowish, but how people got it as a red is nothing but people used to fire the raw material by different stages of production. So at last they got a reddish color. Okay. Then finally, after this, the people used to mold it with the different things, okay, for a shining and etc. Then nodules were chipped into the rough shapes and then finally flaked into the final form. Nodules were chipped into the rough shapes is nothing but in present days we have metals of silicon metals are there now. In this, the designs will be there like glassly molded. Actually, that's not a glass, but it's look like a glass, which means a silicon. And on the silicon goods, there will be a water drop or etc. Actually, that's not a water drop. The silicon designs. Okay, so the same design also was used during the ancient days. Then next thing is grinding, polishing and the drilling completed the process. So once they manufacture the goods, at last they are sending the goods to the grinding, polishing and the drilling. So these experiments completed the process of manufacturing the final goods. The next thing is specialized drills have been found at Chankudaru, Lothal and more recently at Dholavira. So the drilling evidences have been found at Chankudaru, Lothal and more recently at the city of Dholavira. The next thing is, if you locate a Nageshwar and a Balakot on map 1, you will notice that both settlements are near to the coast. So you just note it down. City of Nageshwar and Balakot are the coastal towns where the historians found a number of shell production. Okay, Initially, people could get plenty of shells in the coastal areas now. So the same thing had happened in the ancient days. The city of Nageshwar and Balakot, the famous for shell production. There were specialized centers for making a shell object, including bangles, ladles, and inlay, which were taken to other settlements. And similarly, it's likely to finish the products such as beds from Chankudaru and Lothal were taken to the large urban centers such as Mohenjo-daro and Harappa. So cities once actually the famous craft production are manufactured only in the city of Chankudaru and Lothal. So these since it were the two small cities, so once the manufacturing completed in the cities now, they used to export these manufactured goods to the big cities like Harappa and Mohenjo-daro for selling in the markets. Okay, because since there was a low population in the city of Chankudaru and Lothal, that's what people used to export these goods to the cities of Harappa and Mohenjo-daro. Okay, so these are the craft production. Okay, craft production. You just recall from beginning. So what is a famous place for manufacturing the craft production? First one is Chankudaro. Next one is the materials used. Okay, what are the stones used now? First one is carnelian, jasper, crystal, quartz and the steadite. Then metals like a copper, bronze, gold and shells, etc. Then shapes like a cylindrical, spherical and barrel shaped and a disc shaped, etc. And sometimes the people used to paint on the craft items, as well as they used hand carvings, designs. Okay, the next thing is techniques. In these techniques, most probably these goods are manufactured only with the steadite. Why is steadite now? Steadite is a very soft stone, so it's easy to make the goods. And the next thing is the people carnelian. Okay, as per the evidence of historians, the carnelian, how the people got a red color now? By firing in a different process, finally they got a red color. And next thing is recently they found drilling evidence at the place of Chankudaro, Lothal and Dholavira, and the Nageshwar and Balkot were the famous coastal areas for shell production. Okay, shell production. And once they completed the process of goods, and the final goods and everything has been sent to the big cities like Mohenjo-daro and Harappa for selling in the markets. Are you clear? So the next thing is identifying the center of production. So in this identifying the center of production, how did a historian identify centers of production, craft production? You see, in order to identify the center of craft production, archaeologists usually look for the following. First one is, yes, so what are the symptoms they used to find in the place of craft production? So first thing is they want to look raw material such as stone nodules, whole shells and copper ore, tools and unfinished objects. Okay, so the people where they will find the plenty of the objects, okay, plenty of the same object, and the place will be considered as the city of the city of craft production. In fact, waste is one of the best indicators of craft work. So for instance, if shell or stone is cut to make an object, then pieces of this material will be discarded as a waste at the place of production. You see, the waste, the rejects and the waste materials is one of the best indicator to identify the craft workplaces. Okay, craft work places. For instance, for example, if the shell or a stone is cut to make object, then the pieces of this material will be in a places. It will be in the same place only now. So easily we could find the place of production. Then sometimes larger waste pieces were used to make smaller objects, but minuscule bits were usually left in the work area. These traces suggest that apart from the small specialized centers, craft production was also undertaken in the large cities such as Mohenjo-daro and Harappa. Yes, sometimes people used to, the people whoever is manufacturing the goods used to cut the big pieces. It will be considered as a waste, but from the big pieces, the people can make a small objects, no. So such things also they've used found in some of the places like Harappa and Mohenjo-daro. But however, it's the city of Harappa and Mohenjo-daro is a specialized center for craft production. Also, some of the places they were undertaken in the large cities of manufacturing the shells or other craft items. Okay. Hello guys, good morning. Today we are going to discuss about the strategies for procuring material, right? So previously we discussed about the finding about the craft production, which means what are the materials used to buy in this people for manufacturing craft and other things. So in this people used stones like carnelian, jasper, crystal, quartz and the steadite, and metals like copper, bronze, gold, shell, fines and bone clay, and the shapes like disc shaped and the cylindrical and the spherical and the barrel shaped. Okay, so these are the things we have discussed in the previous session. In this, what we are going to discuss now, strategies for procuring materials. So the materials people used now, different types of material people used for manufacturing the goods. So where did they get such materials? Okay, so today topic is where did they get such materials. Previously we discussed that Nageshwar and Balkot was famous for shell, right? So in this, apart from the shell, what are the things famous for? What are the places? Okay, that we are going to discuss today. So as is obvious, a variety of materials was used for craft production. While some such as clay were locally available, many such as stone, timber and metal had to be procured from outside the alluvial plain. Yes, so initially a variety of materials have been used for craft production. In this, such as clay were locally available. So people got materials which were around them. Okay, people got materials which were around them. In this, clay was locally available, which means clay was available in everywhere, right? So the most probably the craft production was made up of only clay. Okay, so in this, people used stones and the timber. Timber is nothing but wood for manufacturing doors, windows, etc. And the metals like what? Copper, bronze, etc. to be procured from outside the alluvial plain. Terracotta toy models of bullock carts suggest that this was one important means of transporting the goods and people across the land routes. So previously we have discussed that terracotta model of bull, right? Terracotta model of bull shows that people from Indus used oxen for ploughing the land. The same thing, one more model have been found, that bullock carts. Okay, bullock carts. So through that, scholars came to know that bullock cart may be the means of transport during the ancient days. So in this bullock cart, people used to carry the people, those who were migrating from one place to another place, and people used to take the goods and other things for selling in the markets. Okay. Then riverine routes along the Indus and its tributaries, as well as coastal routes, were also probably used. So initially the people's occupation, their main occupation was agriculture, then rearing animals and the trade, etc. So in this, they have a trade with near villages as well as to near countries, right? So that's what people used Indus tributaries as well as the coastal routes for trading with other countries, right? So what are the means of transport? So they found a terracotta toy of models of bullock carts. So through that, scholars came to know that bullock carts may be the means of transport to the near villages. Okay. The next thing is riverine routes like Indus and tributaries. Then coastal routes also was available during the ancient days. Next one is material from subcontinent and beyond. So within India, what are the materials they got from India, right? Within India. See, the Harappan procured material for craft production in various ways. For instance, they established a settlement such as Nageshwar and Balkot in areas where shell was available. So previously we discussed that Balkot and Nageshwar were the famous place for shell production. Okay, which means the number of waste shells they found in the Nageshwar and Balakot, since it was a coastal areas. Okay, since it was a coastal areas, so archaeologists found a number of shell production in the place of Nageshwar and Balkot. So they are strongly telling that Nageshwar and Balkot areas, so Nageshwar and Balkot were the famous for shell production. Then other sites such as and the short guy in a fair of Afghanistan near to the best source of lapis lazuli. A lapis lazuli is nothing but precious blue stone. Okay, precious blue stone. Where did they find such things is nothing but near to Afghanistan. Okay, near to Afghanistan. The place name is Short Guy. Okay, Short Guy is a place which was a little far, a little near to Afghanistan, but much far to the Harappan. So they found a lapis lazuli from Afghanistan. Lapis lazuli is nothing but a kind of a blue stone, which was a precious one, that was apparently very highly valued, and Lothal, which was near sources of carnelian. Carnelian is a red stone. Okay, so they found they bought a carnelian stone near to Lothal, and studdite from Rajasthan and metal from Rajasthan. Okay, studdite and metals from also they found in Rajasthan. Okay, first thing is see Nageshwar and Balkot for famous for shell, and the next thing is what? Short Guy near to the Afghanistan is a famous for lapis lazuli. Okay, lapis lazuli is nothing but what? Blue stone. Next one is carnelian studdite metal. Okay, carnelian studdite metal from Rajasthan. Another strategy for procuring raw materials may have been to send expeditions to areas such as the K3 region of Rajasthan. Okay, so people from Indus got a copper from K3 region of Rajasthan. Note on, K3 region of Rajasthan is famous for copper, and South India for gold. Okay, South India for gold. South India means especially Kolar in Karnataka. Okay, the gold mine is there now. So people got gold from Kolar, South India, Kolar. It's a famous for gold. These expeditions established a communication with the local communities. So you may ask the question, right? What? So South India as well as the Harappan civilization is a much far within the subcontinent, but people have a communicate with the local traders. Okay, people have a communication. People have a communication with the local trader. Through this, local trader used to buy and sell the goods to the Harappan people. The next thing is, these expeditions established a communication with the local communities. Occasional finds of Harappan artifacts such as the studded microbeds in these areas are indication of such contacts. There is evidence in the K3 areas for what archaeologists call the Ganeshwar and the Jodhpura culture, in which it's a distinctive non-Harappan pottery and the unusual wealth of copper object. It's possible that the inhabitants of this region supplied a copper to the Harappans. So within the subcontinent, number of places are famous for number of materials, right? So these regions supplied the raw materials like stone, metals, as well as other things to the Harappan people for manufacturing the craft productions. Okay, understood? Yes. Then next thing is contact with the distant lands. So previous topic we discussed about contact within the subcontinent, which means within country they have a contact. Now is a contact with distant lands. Contact with the distant lands is nothing but the trade between Harappan civilization to other countries. See, recent archaeological finds suggest that copper was also probably brought from Oman. You can note it down. Initially, people bought copper from Oman. On the southeastern tip of the Arabian Peninsula, chemical analyses have shown that both of Omani copper and Harappan artifacts have traces of nickel, suggesting a common region. Okay, so suggesting the common region of the Harappan pottery as well as Omani copper have been found in Mesopotamian civilization. Okay, Mesopotamian civilization, the people found Omani copper as well as Harappan pottery in Mesopotamian civilization. There were other traces of contact as well. A distinctive type of vessel, a large Harappan jar coated with a thick layer of black clay, has been found at Omani sites. Such thick coating prevents the percolation of liquid. We do not know what was carried in these vessels, but it is possible that Harappans exchanged the content of these vessels for Omani copper. So previously we have discussed that the people of Harappan have have a trade with the local villages and the other countries. So here the people of Harappan have a trade with Oman, present in Oman, but previously called as a Mesopotamia. Okay, so they have a trade with them. So in this, instead of money, they used a barter system for exchanging the goods, which means the Harappan pottery was exchanged for Oman copper. Okay, Oman copper is a famous one, as well as the Harappan pottery. Okay, potteries and the vessels are famous in the Harappan sites. So the people used people exchanged Harappan vessels as well as pottery for Oman copper. The next thing is Mesopotamian texts datable to the 3rd millennium BC refers the copper coming from a region called Mahan, perhaps the name of the Oman, and interestingly enough copper found at Mesopotamian sites also contains these traces of nickel. Yes, so people are telling that initially in Mesopotamian text, people found that some dates to the 3rd millennium, like before Common Era. In this, people found plenty of copper in the place of Mahan. Mahan is one of the famous trading place from Mesopotamia. Okay, and perhaps the plenty of Oman copper have been found at the place of Mahan. Not only the copper, but also the place of, the traces of nickel also have found. Other archaeological finds suggest for a long distance contacts, including the Harappan seals, weights, dies, and beds. In this context, it's worth nothing that Mesopotamian text mentions contact with a region named Dilman, probably island of Bahrain. Bahrain is also near to the country of Mesopotamia, and this is one of Dilman. Dilman is one of the trading place in the country of Bahrain. Mahan and Meluha, possibly the Harappan region. You can note it down. Mahan and Meluha is a island. Okay, island which is owning by Harappan people. Okay, which is owning by Harappan region. And they mentioned that products from Meluha, carnelian, lapis lazuli, copper, gold, and varieties of wood. So in this, what the people mention, possibly Harappan region, which means they mention the products from Meluha, carnelian, lapis lazuli, copper, gold, and variety of goods have been exchanged between the countries like Dilman as well as the Harappan regions like Meluha and Mahan. Okay. May your next thing is, yes, a Mesopotamian myth says that says of Meluha, may your bird be the Haja bird, may its call be heard in the royal palace. Some archaeologists think that Haja bird was a peacock one. Okay, so the scholars have found the inscript of quote about the city of Meluha in the Mesopotamian text as well as the myth. So here the word Haja bird refers peacock. Okay, Haja bird refers peacock. Some archaeologists think that the Haja bird was a peacock. Did it get this name from its call? It's likely that communication with Oman, Bahrain, and Mesopotamia was by sea, and Mesopotamian texts refer to Meluha as the land of seafarers. Seafarer is nothing but the land of sailors. Okay, plenty of sailors used to stay in the city, and besides we found a depicts of the ship and boats and sails. Okay, so in this people have a communication, a sea route communication with the countries like Oman and Bahrain or Mesopotamia, or only with the sea. In the subcontinent, the local trader used to help the Harappan people for purchasing the goods one place to another place. But initially, the trading with other countries, they have a communication only by seas. Okay. So also Meluha is also known as the land of seafarer. Besides this materials, the people also found the ships and boats and the seals, etc. Okay. So guys, next topic is about seals and script weights. Okay. So in this script and weight, what is seal, what is script, what is weights? It's nothing but these are the signs of communication. Okay, now we people have language now, plenty of language are there around the world. So in this ancient days, what are the languages used? But we are not sure that a particular language are used, but most probably people used seals and script for communications. Okay, see, seals and sealings. Seals and sealings were used to facilitate long distance communication. Imagine a bag of gold being sent from one place to another. Its mouth was tied with a rope, and on the knot was affixed some wet clay on which one or more seals were pressed, leaving an impression. If the bag reached with its sealing intact, it means that it had not been tampered with, and the sealing also conveyed that identity of the sender. So this is a perfect communication used by the Harappan civilization. In this, what is there? Nothing can't understand, right? So it's a very easy, See, actually, now we have a telephones and everything. So once we have any emergency, or if we send something to our traders, as soon as we are calling to them, and as soon as they are informing that we had sent something. Okay, but previously there is no technology, right? So that's what, if a trader want to sell something to a merchant, is nothing but what the people will do. A bag of goods with being sent one place to another, its mouth was tied, which means a bag of gold. Okay, you can assume that a bag of gold was sending from one country to another country. In this, the bag was fully tied with rope. Okay, bag was fully tied with rope, and the knot will be there. No knot. So in that knot, they will fix some amount of clay. Okay, they will fix some amount of clay on the knot, and in this mud, I mean, and the clay is there. No, in this clay, they used to press some seals and symbols. Okay, they will press some seals and symbols like this. You just see this diagram. Sealing from roper. So this is a mud. Okay, I mean, this is a clay, and where they sealed like this. Okay, I mean, this may be a means of communication. Then, so used to fix a wet clay on the knot, and on this people used to press 2 or more seals for the communication. If the bag reached with its sealing intact, which means without opening the seal, if it reached to the merchant, now it will be safe, as well as it will tell something about the merchants to whom they send, and what about the addresses and identity of the merchants, etc. Okay, then next thing is an enigmatic inscript. Enigmatic inscript is nothing but the mysterious. Okay, the mysterious inscript. Harappan seals usually have a line of writing, probably containing the name and the title of the owner. Scholars have also suggested that a motif is nothing but the symbol of animals, and they conveyed a meaning to those who could not read. So previously, the people of Harappan have some symbols. I mean, the seals, lines for communication. Now we people have let us know A, B, C, D. So the same symbols also have been used by Harappan people for communication. If uneducated want to read, now people used some motifs of animals. Okay, so this is one of the animal. I don't know what is the animal, but the people used motifs, animals drawings for conveying the message. Each animal will describe a message. Understood or not? Each animal will describe a message. So these animal motifs is only for uneducated. Okay, educated people have the symbols like different seals. Okay, so these are the seals, different seals. The next thing is most inscription are short and the longest containing about 26 signs. Although the script remains undeciphered to date, it was evidently not alphabetical, where each sign stands for a vowel or consonant. Actually, each signs will describe the vowels and consonants, but the longest containing sign found in the site was 26 signs. Okay, 26 sign was the longest sign of communication. And as I told you, that each and every signs will it's not an alphabetical, but each and every signs will describe vowels and consonants. As it has just 2 signs, somewhere between 375 to 400. So approximately there were 375 to 400 signs being used by the Harappan people. How much? 375 to 400 signs were being used by the Harappan people. It is apparent that the script was written from right to left. Initially, we people are writing left to right. Okay, left to right, but Harappan people used to write from right to left. Okay, right to left, as some seals show the wider spacing on the right and the cramping on the left, as if the engraver began working. Engraver is nothing but a person who is selling or who is going to write in the left space, began working from the right and then ran out of the space. So initially, whenever the people used to send a good from one merchant to another merchant, they initially will leave the space in the left side where it will be comfortable for the engraver to write something about them. Next thing is, consider the variety of objects on which writing have been used. Seals, yes. So not only in this goods, but also the written materials have been found. So different types of written materials have been found, like seals, copper tool, and the rims and jars, copper and terracotta tables, and the jewelry, bones, rods, even an ancient signboard. Remember, there may have been a writing on perishable material too. Could this mean that literacy was widespread? So perishable materials is like such materials like pottery, gold, copper, iron, etc., which means literacy was also widespread across the Indus civilization. The next one is weights. So exchanges were regulated by the precise system of weights, usually made of a stone called the chet and the gradually cubical. So these weight measurement coins are usually called chet and cubical with no marking. Initially you cannot find any marking in the weight coins, and lower denomination of weights were binary 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32 and up to 12,800. I mean, these are the numbers of measuring the weights. Okay, while the higher denomination followed the decimal system, the smaller weights were probably used for weighting the jewelries and the bits, and the metal scale spans also have been found. Yes, initially these smaller digits of weights, I mean smaller weights were probably used for measuring the metals like gold, copper, because initially the gold we cannot measure it by kgs, no. So initially it will be weighted by grams. So the smaller weights were probably used for what? Weighting the jewelries and bits. And metal scale pans also have been found is nothing but weighting scales. I mean weighting machines also have been found in the places of civilization. Okay, so are you clear with these two topics? Yes. So first one is materials from subcontinent and materials from other countries, and the next thing is seals. Okay, seal. And what are the seals? Longest seal is 26, right? Yes, longest seal is 26, and the next thing is approximately 375 to 400 signs were being used by Indus people, and weights like minimal and as well as the biggest, higher, everything were being found at the sites of Harappan. Okay, yes, thank you students.